Our MyTunes guest has been singing for as long as he can remember and is a widely respected and accomplished performer on the Ukrainian folk instrument, the bandura. He's participated in numerous recordings as a bandurist and given performances and workshops around the globe. He also teaches the bandura and is a bass soloist who has appeared in 11 operas. And if all that wasn't enough, he's also a doctor of dental surgery. Marko Farion, welcome to MOT Unmasked.
Thank you for having me.
Now, is this where I have to rinse and spit? What do we do now?
We could just talk music.
Let's do that instead.
That'd be great.
I'm fascinated not only by the singing, and you have YouTube videos that I looked up and watched, and you have a lovely voice, but I'm fascinated by this instrument, which looks very difficult to play. So please tell me a little bit about the bandura.
The bandura is a Ukrainian folk instrument, but it is, it's almost, to describe it, it's almost like a harp with a side to it, where you can only play on one side with your right hand. The left hand plays bass strings, so both hands are doing different things. There's no frets on the instrument itself, so there's no strumming involved. It's all individual plucking, which gives me the comparison to the harp. It's been around for hundreds of years, 600-700 years, and it comes from a minstrel tradition where blind old men would go from village to village and sing historical songs, religious canticles and ballads, and some instrumental music, and thereby teaching the populace about their history, the farm, the agricultural community that did not read or write hundreds of years ago. That's how they learned of their heritage, their history, and their nationality.
Okay, so you grew up around Cleveland, correct?
I did grow up in Cleveland, yes.
So was this a way, as a kid growing up in America, in middle America, to stay connected to a family heritage? How did you learn it? I mean,
basically, my parents made me learn the instrument. Just like when you were younger, they send you to piano lessons, and you got to do this and that. And it came to a point where I had played other instruments, and the preeminent bandura player in the world, he's since passed, his name was Chorister, actually lived in Cleveland at the time, and I had the honor of becoming his student, and then from there, that's how it started.
Wow, what a luck of geography.
Yeah.
Well, I'm eager, and I hope our listeners are too, to hear what this instrument sounds like. Did you happen to bring a recording?
I did.
Excellent. What are we going to hear?
We can hear a selection called Red Poppies, and it's based on a theme of the Glier Symphony, and it's arranged by my teacher, Chorister.
That was beautiful. Please, what exactly we hear? What was the name?
The name of the piece was The Red Poppies, or in Ukrainian, Czerwoni maki. And it's based on the theme of a Glier symphony called The Red Poppies. And the theme was transcribed and arranged for the bandura by my teacher, Hrihori Kitasti.
You talk about him being one of the preeminent teachers and players. What a happy accident of geography that you happened to be born in Cleveland, and that happened to be where he lived, and you could hook up and take lessons from him. Huh?
It was quite fortunate. He is also known for being the conductor and director of a musical group called the Ukrainian Bandurist Chorus, which is 50 to 60 male chorus with bandura accompaniment. And he came over from Ukraine, from Kiev, during the war. They landed into a German concentration camp, and after the war made it to Detroit because they were sponsored here. And since then he had moved to San Diego, he had moved to Chicago, and then near the end of his life he lived in Cleveland for a time. And in the Ukrainian community he gave lessons of the bandura, and I was fortunate enough to be his student.
But that's how you wound up in Detroit as well.
That's how I wound up in Detroit. After taking lessons with him for a couple of years, he invited me to be part of the chorus, which is based in Detroit here now. In 2018, they'll be celebrating their 100th anniversary, but they've been here in Detroit since 1950. And I became a member at 15, and by 17, I was singing solos with the group. He taught me. He was my first voice teacher, and after that, I took lessons both in university and afterwards.
We should clarify for our listeners, we actually heard our guest, Marko Farion, playing the bandura on that track. And let's talk a little bit about voice. You, in the recordings that I watched some of your performances online, you're not speaking English when you're not singing English, I should say. Do you speak Ukrainian or do you do this phonetically? How do you do it?
I'm fluent in Ukrainian. When we were growing up, it was almost a form of disrespect to speak to your parents in English.
Oh, my.
Because they had the thick accent and they did not know English as well. They know English well, but like I said, to your parents or grandparents, it was almost a form of disrespect. So, and we have our Ukrainian schools, parochial schools, and Saturday schools where we can learn the language, as a lot of other nationalities have. So I kind of went through that system, and I also have family still in Ukraine, an aunt with first cousins, and I've gone to visit them to Ukraine on several occasions.
This instrument probably has you traveling the globe, but we are talking about voice, and we're talking about your list of music that is most important to you. Is there anything that you brought along that influenced your vocal performances?
I think the most, I like listening to a lot of bass opera singers, obviously, since I am a bass. My favorite would be Ezio Pinza, Samuel Ramey, and a host of others. Whatever bass I could find, I usually get the CD. I got a lot of records, LPs, and I also collect old 78s. I got some old шлях 78s that I can't listen to every day, but I love the fact that I have it.
How do you play them these days? Have you transferred them over just so you can play?
I'm trying to transfer some of them, but I still have an old turntable that plays the 78s, and I've got a whole system rigged up into my computer where I've actually transferred some things, but not as much. There's never enough time to do anything, really.
There's going to be a day when it's going to be hard to play those old 78s.
Yeah.
Well, let's hear a sample of one of your favorite vocalists.
Alrighty. Here's a selection of Ezio Pinza singing from Don Giovanni, Madamina.
Madamina, il catalogo è questo, delle belle che amo il padron mio, un catalogo è lì che ho fatto io. Osservate, leggete con me, osservate, leggete con me. In Italia 640, in Almagna 231, 100 in Francia, in Turchia 91, ma in Spagna son già 1.300. 1.300. Van fra queste contadine, cameriere cittadine, van contesse baronesse, marchesine, principesse e d'ogni grado, d'ogni forma, d'ogni età, d'ogni forma, d'ogni età. In Italia 640, in Alemagna 231, 100 in Francia, in Turchia 91, ma in Spagna son già 1.300, ma fra queste contadine, cameriere, cittadine, van contesse, baronesse, marchesine, principesse, e van d'ogni grado, d'ogni forma, d'ogni età, d'ogni forma, d'ogni età, d'ogni forma, d'ogni età. Nella Bionda e gli Alusana so la gentilezza della bruna, la costanza nella bianca, la dolcezza, vol d'inverno la grassotta, vol d'estate la magrotta, e la grande maestosa, e la grande maestosa. La piccina, 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 e ogni orvezzosa, e ogni orvezzosa, e ogni orvezzosa, delle vecchie fa conquista, quel piacer di porle in lista. Sua passione predominante, la giovine principiante, non si picca se sia ricca, se sia brutta, se sia bella, se sia ricca, brutta, se sia bella, purché porti la gonnella. Voi sapete quel che fa, voi sapete quel che fa, pur che porti la gonnella, voi sapete quel che fa, voi sapete quel che fa, quel che fa, quel che fa, voi sapete quel che fa.
Ah, Don Giovanni. That is one motivated individual. I saw the MOT performance of Don Giovanni last year. So who did we hear singing there?
Ezio Pinza.
Ezio Pinza. What a voice.
Yeah.
What a voice. When you made the transition, when you were singing as a kid, what kind of singing were you doing? And we're talking to your bass voice.
Yes.
Marko Farion, and you've been, for the last 6 years, doing opera. How do you get from what you were doing as a kid to singing opera?
Well, I started out singing basic folk songs, and then I was in choruses. I was in my grade school chorus. In high school, I was in chorus. And then I was in this male chorus, and always taking voice lessons, always improving my voice. And started singing classically while I was an undergrad at Case Western Reserve. Then after a while, they punted me over to the Cleveland Institute of Music. I took courses there and lessons. And since then, I've always tried to improve myself Here I worked with Dino Winter.
Is that a local voice coach?
Yes.
Okay.
And so and I've always sung in choruses and chorales. I was a soloist in University Circle Chorale in Cleveland. Here I joined the Detroit Concert Choir. I was a member with them for over 10 years, and I was a featured soloist there. A few of the members there, section leaders, were also with the MOT chorus, and they were like, "Hey, Marko, you could do this too. Why don't you try?" And I've always wanted to. And so I auditioned, and I've participated in 11 operas in the past 5-6 years.
Well, I want to ask you about the feeling of abject terror you must have had that first time. But first, let's maybe hear something from one of the operas you appeared in with MOT. Did you bring any of those selections along?
I participated in Barbara Seville Rossini's, and here I have a selection of another one of my idols, Samuel Ramey, singing La Calumnia.
What an issue, and the fact that he could direct those Spider-Man movies as well.
Different Sam Raimi.
That's not a Samuel Ramey?
No.
No? All right. Tell me about this Sam Raimi.
He's a world-renowned opera singer. Sings at the Met all the time. Actually, I went to see him in War and Peace with Gergiev conducting a few years back, about 9 years ago. And that was the debut of Anna Netrebko at the Met that year. It was beautiful.
And he's one of your vocal heroes, and you looked him up and found out?
We share a birthday. That's 20 years apart.
That's kind of neat. Well, he has a beautiful vocal instrument, and we're speaking with somebody who explores his vocal instrument as a member of the chorus at the MOT, here on MOT Unmasked, My Tunes segment, Marko Farion. And Marko, you've sung in many different languages, I imagine, based on what opera you're in the chorus for?
That is correct.
And, of course, you sung in Ukrainian. You brought along something that I think looks fascinating, just looking at the CD case, of ancient voices. What do you mean by that? What do they mean by that?
Well, the Ancient Echoes is a recording of some Church Slavonic music. Eastern European church music had its roots in the old Church Slavonic language that now in Eastern Europe everybody pretty much sings in their own language, either Russian or Ukrainian or in Polish, Serbian. But,
is that similar to like when my dad would always talk to me about the Latin masses?
That is correct.
And all that. So then there became a movement to understand the ceremonies more.
That's correct.
And so people started speaking in their native tongues.
That's correct.
But there's a trade-off there, isn't there? You lose some of the mystical quality of the ceremony.
You lose some of the mystical quality, and actually you lose a little bit of the music that was composed originally for the Old Church Slavonic.
Okay.
And one of the composers that was a contemporary of Mozart, he's Ukrainian, Dmitro Bortnyansky, composed a lot of beautiful music, and they sing it here in its original. And I was involved in a recording in the 80s of all 35 of his sacred choral concertos, which are just beautiful. It was a project up in Canada by the Millennium Chorus. But here I have a selection of Bortnyansky singing Reče Hospodь, The Lord Speaketh, by the Ancient Echoes, Chorovaya Akademia.
Marko, that is gorgeous. It really seems to transport you to another time and place.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Ancient sounding.
Yeah.
Who did we hear?
It was the Chorowa Akademia. It's a recording called Ancient Echoes. It's a RCA recording, Red Seal. It's just beautiful music, and it's music that can be heard in most Eastern Rite churches throughout the world.
And that was composed by whom?
The composer is Dmytro Bortnyansky, a Ukrainian composer, contemporary of Mozart's, who was also known for being the chorus master in St. Petersburg for the Tsar. And after he passed, Tchaikovsky took over his position.
You're giving us a musical journey here on MOT Unmasked in our My Tunes segment. So, Marko Farion, what was your music? I mean, growing up in the Midwest, around Cleveland, where the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is, was it all rock and roll, and then it was the stuff your parents forced you to learn? And how did you? And then you actually were on the radio in college. So how eclectic? How much stuff?
I like a variation of different types of music. I listen to all sorts of, either jazz, classical, early rock and roll. In the 80s, of course, it was all that 80s synth stuff. It's all retro now. Mm-hmm. But when I was working on the radio, that's the stuff we played. And
what format? What was the radio station? What was the format?
The format was everything and anything.
Okay.
And
college radio?
College radio, and then we also promoted new music. So anything that was new that seemed good enough to be put on the radio, we would do that. But there were also, there was jazz, there was classical, it was multiple genres, and a lot of, public service. It was a community radio station, and we played pretty much everything. I was the program director there for about 3-4 years also.
You were talking about having some 78s before. What were you actually playing on the air there?
We played records. This was just in the advent of CDs were just starting to come out, but we played records. So
you had a turntable?
We had turntables, yeah.
More than one?
Oh, yeah.
So you had 2 turntables and a microphone, literally?
We had 3 turntables and a microphone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Even better than Beck.
Yeah. And we actually had some of the early rappers come by, Grandmaster Flash, and they did some scratching. And,
oh, that's cool.
And they recorded a promo for us, and it was just pretty cool, pretty fun.
Well, we don't have any rigid format here. We get to go with whatever you brought in, whatever you like. So, Marko Farion, what else do you have for us?
Well, I brought in a jazz selection, Paul Winter. He actually traveled to Russia, and he met up with the Dmitry Prokofsky singers. So here's a little amalgamation, let's say, a dental term here, where a mixture where it's jazz meets Eastern European folk music. And this is what happens, and this is called Kursky Funk.
Well, you know, we go from the ancient sounds of ritual music to that. The Paul Winter Consort, and we heard Paul Winter on saxophone from an album called Earthbeat, and that's a track called Kursky Funk. And the voices we heard there were the Pokrovsky singers.
Yes, which is a good segue, a good transition, because the way they sing is called the primitive form of choral singing. In Eastern Europe, there's many groups, the Bulgarian women singers, in Ukraine, the Viryoka singers. They all sing in this kind of a sound. It's termed primitive, but it's all the different work songs or, harvesting songs, and, they all have a certain rhythm to them and a certain sound that was that ancient kind of sound that they've been singing like that for hundreds of years.
We are talking music and hearing a selection of music from Marko Farion, who has been in 11 operas over the last 6 years with the Michigan Opera Theater. This is a really interesting list, and you hear this, I would imagine, almost from two sides. You're very familiar with Ukrainian folk music, and I've known, as I've kind of taken my journey through classical music and done a little bit of research, how many composers actually would just kind of tour the countryside listening to folk songs to kind of listen for hooks, listen for ideas to incorporate or almost transcribe melodies to bring into their music. You're hearing it because you're playing the folk music, but you're also immersed in this classical world. So it's almost like you're hearing both sides of that transaction.
Best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Like Tchaikovsky has a symphony, the Little Russian Symphony, which is a nice endearing term the Russians have for Ukrainians. But
which I'm sure the Ukrainians love.
Yes, not. But in it, there are many Ukrainian folk melodies intertwined in the symphony, which is just beautiful. It's a beautiful symphony.
Well, we're moved from ancient music to a kind of a jazz fusion.
And then we move on.
And there's yet another.
80s music. Some people may know Malcolm McLaren as the manager for the Sex Pistols and other groups like that. But he actually had some solo recordings and projects that he came out with. And one in particular fuses 80s synth beat music with opera, bringing us back to the opera. And so he had a few different things that he put out in a recording called Fans, Malcolm McLaren Fans. And there's a selection from Carmen. There's a Nessun Dorma that he does. And this selection is from Madame Butterfly, about Cho-Cho San and her tale of woe.
Back in Nagasaki, I got married to Cho-Cho San. That was her name in those days, when I was her man. I've gone back to visit her, but she got a problem. She got a little Cho-Cho. Cho-Cho San was her name, and Mr. Taylor Woe. Take it away, Cho-Cho. sir. U.S. Navy. I'm a bounder. I married a Yankee girl. But I went back to visit old Japan, where there she was, Cho-Cho-San.
Gotta have something to believe in. My wine hungry, I do miss him. Someday soon he'll come around, just to stop my nervous breakdown. Call me fool, call me stupid. Bend my arrow, kill this Cupid. Say it with me, hit me back. I have faith in this love track. Calling butterfly, Madam Butterfly. That's the name you used to give me. He's my man till the day I die. Oh, sweet butterfly, so sweet butterfly. She's waiting. Hit me back. I have faith.
Cho-Cho-San, my little wife, my sweet butterfly. That's the name I'll give you when I return.
Little sweet, sweet butterfly, I hear it growing faintly. He thinks I'm still just sweet 16. I guess I'll tease him gently. Calling Madam Butterfly, his angel flies right from the sky. Hide my dating in strange places. I feel the fear that I might die. Right in his arms and his embraces. Softly kissing my eyelashes. Got no right to doubt it. Ain't no doubt about it. Call me fool, call me stupid. Bend this arrow, kill this Cupid. I have faith, I'll always pray. My white heart is here to stay. Calling butterfly, Madam Butterfly. Butterfly, butterfly, have no fear, for I'll be there to wipe your tears. Oh, sweet butterfly, so sweet butterfly. She's waiting. I will wait for him with unshakable faith.
Definitely the 80s. Malcolm McLaren, the album is called Fans, and we heard the first track, Madame Butterfly, Un Bel Dì.
Puccini is rolling in his grave.
No, he's rocking in his grave.
That's
You
true.
kidding me? He
Big
loves
80s,
that.
big 80s.
He loves the synth and the hair and the parachute pants. He's all about that. We are talking parachute pants and other style choices with Marko Farion, who is in the many courses with the Michigan Opera Theater. I have to ask you that first time, and we're kind of backtracking to this discussion, that first time you made the transition from being in large choral groups to going down to MOT, were you terrified? What was the process? Is it an audition? Is it a...
Every year we have to audition for the chorus, and it wasn't terrifying because I've been a soloist for so long.
And you've been training so long, that gives you a confidence.
Training so long, and but the simple fact of, after I sang my audition piece, then it was almost like a getting to know you. I think they were trying to find out if I knew what I was getting myself into, which I think I did. Wasn't quite sure, but it's something I wanted to try and explore to see if I can do. And that part of it, I wasn't quite sure how to answer. Like if you go to any audition or any interview, you're like, am I saying the right thing? Or am I saying what they want to hear? Or am I saying what I should be saying? Or
like those job interview gotchas. Yeah.
Right.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years? In your chair. Get out. What do you say?
Right. So, but the first question was, do you really know what you're getting yourself into? And I think, honestly, I said, I think I do. I think I do. And this is something I really wanted to do and pursue. And I'm very grateful that I've been able to do it for 11 operas, being in a chorus, a fantastic chorus. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if people in Detroit realize how great this chorus is here. They listen to the Met broadcasts and compare choruses. You know, there's a difference.
Let me ask you this. If there is somebody listening who has held this kind of dream in their heart for a long, long time and they want to give it a try, what should they do?
Check the website, MOT, MichiganOpera.org, and there's an area for auditions. And they always list, it's once a year. Everybody who's in the chorus has to re-audition every year and earn their spot. Mm-hmm. And they could sign up, send an email, call, and find out when it is and give it a shot. What
have been some of the high point experiences for you since in the last 6 years?
Meeting some wonderful soloists that have come and sung here in the Detroit Opera House, and also being involved in the world premiere, Dr. David DiChiara's composition Cyrano. I had the honor of being in the chorus then. I was one of the bakers, and it was a phenomenal experience. And just an incredible kind of thing to be a part of a world premiere of a new opera. It's indescribable, and I had the honor of being part of that.
This is MOT Unmasked. We're talking with Marko Farion, and you've brought a list. We're coming up on time, so we have time for maybe a couple more tracks. So we just talked about a world premiere. You have something that was an original piece?
Well, this is actually a piece that my teacher, Hidehori Kitasti, arranged. It's actually the theme from the Pathetique Symphony by Tchaikovsky. And I just recorded it. It's still unreleased, so this would be kind of like the world premiere of
we
my
have a scoop.
rendition.
We have a world premiere here on MOT
do.
Unmasked?
Yes, you heard it here first.
Excellent. That was absolutely gorgeous. Short, simple, beautiful little piece there.
Thank you.
To remind our listeners, that was the bandura. That was you playing.
The Ukrainian folk instrument, the bandura, and the composition. It was a Tchaikovsky piece, the theme from the Pathetique Symphony, and arranged by my mentor, my teacher, Hidehori Kitasti.
What a thrill as a young man. And did you know at the time how important to preserving the culture this man was?
When I first met him, no.
How old were you when you first met him?
I first met him when I was 13, and I took lessons with him. For about a year, I was not very serious, and it was a kind of a pivotal point in my life where I came over for lessons, and he said, it's not that you're wasting your time, but you're actually wasting my time, so I don't want you to ever come back here again.
Wow. And you were about 14 at that time.
And so I went back.
How do you process that as a 14-year-old?
Well, that was kind of tough. I got back in the car, did not say anything to my parents as they drove home, practiced every day for hours, got back in the car, went back to his place the next week. I walk in and he said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I came for lessons." And And I apologized. I said, I am serious. I really want to learn from him, the master. And then we got back to work. And I learned from the master. And
Wow, that was a genius play on his part, wasn't it? He knew just what to say to you at the right time. Well, I know we're coming up on time. Can we hear one more bandura selection?
I'd be happy to play. This is actually from the classical old repertoire of the Kobzar, which is the old blind minstrel. And the song is called Duma, about Ukraine, Duma про Україну, and it's about history, about the Cossacks, the Ukrainian Cossacks, and it's asking the people of Ukraine to rise up against their
Oppressors.
Oppressors,
yeah.
That is correct.
Absolutely.
Наступила та чорная хмара, та тож не хмара, полки ворожі, матір бідну Україну зневажали. Руки, ноги в кайдани кували, гарячим залізом, очі не пікали, гей, виривали, гей. Ой, як стала мати Україна, ой, та кров на тілі замочати, гей. То стала вона ворогів клясти, проклинати, гей. Гей, кати, кати, лукаві ви вороги проклятий. Уже ж ви мені надокучили своєю кров'ю, слізьми материнськими, проклинаю вас на віки віки. Гей, гей. Ой, та було ж у матері 4 козаки, сини пани молодці, полетіли, полинули десь не видати. Ой, стала мати синів козаченьків, звати, зазивати. Гей, 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 каже, хмелю, Богдане, Богуне, не чую, Максиме, кривоносе. Обізвіться, сини мої любі, бо вже ж я, ваша мати, людей не встрічаю. Руки, ноги закуті, в землі вольні забуті, а що пожарами та груди мені спалено. Гей, як крикне козачество, Богдан лицар славний, ставайте, та вже ж ми з братами взяли шаблю в руки, в хаті пригощати, червоним плавином наповати, списами чистити, шамельками рубати. Гей, 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 воля йде, кличе нас
That is fantastic. What a wall of sound coming out of that instrument. It's really incredible. With so many strings, I would hope so, right? Our guest, Marko Farion, playing the bandura and singing. And tell us the name of the tune.
Duma pro Ukrainu. So it's the Duma, which is historical thoughts about Ukraine.
Well, we've run up our time. I have one other thing I have to ask before I let you go, though. My dad was in the dental field. You have a thriving practice right here in the Detroit area. Any relationship between what you do musically and what you do professionally in the dental office? I think because I'm very good with my hands as far as playing the instrument. Oh, the strength, that it helps me with everything I need to do in the mouth and with fixing people up so they have beautiful smiles. And that, I remember my dad would always say, the most beautiful gift, the gratification he got out of making dentures, which is what he did, was giving people back their smile. It's a great feeling, isn't it? And it's nice to see people just regain their confidence with improving their smile, and it's wonderful to do that. Marko Farion, thank you for bringing such a great and diverse list of music on MyTunes. Thank you for having me. This is MOT Unmasked. I'm Jimmy Rhoades.
For more information on the activities of the Michigan Opera Theater, log on to motopera.org. Today's program was produced by Jeff Strayer. Recording engineer is Mike Bushel. Executive producer is Chris Feltson. Special thanks to our guests this week, conductor Kazim Abdullah and Marko Farion from the MOT Chorus. MOT Unmasked is a co-production of WRCJ, the Michigan Opera Theater, and the Detroit School of Arts. Funding for this program has been provided in part by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, the Kresge Foundation, and by listeners like you. Thanks for listening.